Good afternoon. I'm Bill Aney. I'm the Fire Behavior Analyst working with the PNW2 team here in Klamath Falls, Oregon on the Bootleg Fire. I was asked to update a long-term assessment that had been done about a week and a half ago. And I did that yesterday with the idea of wanting to see what the effect of suppression actions have been on reducing the risk to some of the values that are out there on the landscape. So I did that. This is the long-term strategic analysis print-up, but part of that is the fire spread probability analysis, and we call that FS Pro. And the point of FS Pro is to take an ignition on the landscape and allow it to go for a certain period of time under different streams of weather to evaluate the likelihood that the fire is going to eventually hit some point out there on the landscape that people are concerned about. We call those points values at risk. In this case, what we had done was looked at the heat that was remaining in the fire on the 5th of August, which was really just some little interior heat signatures inside the fire perimeter. We took those and we applied the fire spread probability model to that, saying what's the likelihood of having a spot fire that actually gets established outside of the perimeter of the fire line, and what's the likelihood that if that happens, that spot fire is actually going to result in a larger fire that ends up hitting some values at risk. That is what this type of map shows us here. Basically, the red here is the fire perimeter for Bootleg. We had some heat inside the perimeter, and we ran the model for 14 days, 1,000 different weather streams, basically 1,000 different scenarios, and looked at where each of those spreads would occur on the landscape. The point of the blue and the purple colors here is that the likelihood of spread out into these areas is really low. The blue color here is less than 5% likelihood of a fire reaching those areas in the next 14 days. And the pink is even lower than that, less than 0.2%. A key assumption that we make in this, and all of this fire spread modeling, is that there is no suppression action that happens. So it's a spot fire gets established out here and takes off. This model just says let it run without any suppression. That's not reality. In fact, they had done a similar analysis on this fire about a week and a half ago, and it showed a dramatically different footprint of the fire. And I'll give you a couple of examples of that. In the lower chart here is what we have, a values at risk table. And it lists a group of values that local folks, both from the public and from the agencies and cooperators, had identified as being of importance in this landscape that they didn't want to see burned. And it ranges everything from green diamond private timberlands to structures in Christmas Valley. A week and a half ago, with the fire at this footprint, it had not been yet contained, and so a 2-week run of the fire without any further suppression action shows an awful lot of impact to values that people care about. 80 to 100% chance of it hitting the Yamsey Mountain semi-primitive area, for example, or the Winter Rim. Highway 31 had a really good chance of being affected by fire. That was a week and a half ago. Since then, suppression actions have stopped the forward spread of the fire. All that was left was some spot fires inside. If I run those spot fires, likelihood of it spotting out, likelihood of it running with no suppression action for the next 2 weeks, we still see a dramatically reduced risk of affecting any of these values at risk. For example, Summer Lake, a community that's near and dear to my heart, had something like a 80% chance of being affected by the fire a week and a half ago. Now we're like less than 5% chance. That shows the effects of suppression on this fire and the fact that there's just much less risk